Good morning, class. So today we're going to learn about assemblies. Thought I'd show you the finished product first before I actually demoed how it's going to be put together. My end goal is that you have the cube pieces actually assembled together so it forms a 3x3. That when I try to move any of these parts, they're all locked together. Yeah, let's see what else we can try to identify of it. We also want to make sure that there's no clashes between the parts. So, we can analyze interference, highlight the entire set, and double check that there's no interferences, which means they don't crash and there's not pieces inside of pieces. That doesn't make sense. Okay. All right, so how are we going to do this? So I'm going to click a file, new. I'm going to create a new assembly. I'm going to first place a part, and I'm going to start with the yellow part. So if somebody handed me this cube to solve, the very first piece I would set on the table is the yellow part. So I'm going to click once, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click OK. The first part I said on the table, the initial piece, you should always ground. This is the only part that's going to be ground. What that means is you're removing its constraints of freedom. So now I can't even move. Oh, I didn't ground it. So see how I can move it? Well, if I right click and I go to grounded, whoops, no wonder I changed the wrong button. If I ground it, now I can't move it, I can't rotate it, I can't do anything with it. It's locked in place on the screen, and I'm going to build everything else around it. The next piece I would assemble is the blue part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to place it, right click OK. I need to start thinking about how this is going to be connected to it. So I'm going to use the free rotate button to individually rotate this one piece. I need to think about how this is going to get input. Okay, it's basically going to connect. So I could go back to my answer key. So if I go to the bottom side, I'll see that this L forms together with the little l. Okay, so that's about right. So now I'm going to get into my constraints. I'm going to use the constraint features, and there's a set of other ones. There's even motion and transitional constraints. For the sake, we're going to talk a little bit about these, but we're going to use them later in the year. For now, we're going to use the mate constraint. So what I'm going to do is and mate means, and it even has a little picture that the two faces are touching each other, and they're facing opposite directions. So it's kind of like they're kissing each other. Whereas flush means they're shoulder to shoulder, and they're facing the same direction. So this face is going to be touching this face. So I want to mate it. So I'm going to apply that. But I'm not done because this piece still moves around. It's not locked in place. So I'm going to keep going with it. So I'm going to mate this face with this face. Close, but you'll notice that they're not aligned. So I'm going to apply it. So I'm almost done. I need one more constraint. So I'm going to mate this so that this face is flush with this face. I'm going to apply that, cancel it, and now you'll see that this part doesn't move. Okay. This is the first set, but I'm going to get to a better view that's going to make the rest of this assembly a little easier. Why don't we go, I'll just rotate it myself. I don't really like that view. There we go. This is a good starting point for the rest of my piece. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to set this as my home. There we go. All right. Next piece that's going to come in is my brown part. There we go. I need to remember how the brown part goes. So clearly there's one that goes in here, and then it kind of goes all the way to the top because I see the brown, and then it comes over. Okay. So if that's the case, then that means that, let's think about this. So is there blue on that side? There is. Okay. All right, so that means that I'm going to constrain, and not mate, but flush this bottom face so that it's in line with this face. Okay, see how it already flips it over? Problem is it's not inside. It's not in the piece. I'm going to go back to my home view. I picked that purposely because it's the best one. Now I want to mate. I'm going to mate. Let me think how this goes. There's more blue on the tall side, right? Okay. So I need to remember how this goes. I'm looking at my answer key. The brown and the blue come out on the same end. Okay, cool. So yeah, it basically is how it's going to end up being. So that means that I'm going to mate this face because that face, or part of it is going to be touching this side. Okay, so I'm going to apply that. Then I'm going to flush this side with this side. It's going to move it slightly. I apply it. Let's see if it still moves. Looks good. Awesome. Yep, I think that looks good. One thing I want you guys to understand is if you have really hard time accessing certain parts, like maybe you couldn't access that back face, or maybe you wanted to make this face with this inside face and you couldn't capture it, you could always hide parts. If it's going to be easier to get blue out of the way, you can temporarily hide the visibility, and now all of a sudden blue's not there, right? If you needed to access this bottom side for whatever reason and you couldn't reach it, hide parts. So you right click and you hide the visibility, but I'll bring it back in. Next part, we're going to place the green. Open. So again, let's see how many constraints it takes. So I know, let me think about this. I know this bottom face has to be touching this because the green's going to pop up, right? It's looking up. So I know that this face has to touch and mate with that bottom half. So I'm going to apply that. I can free rotate this part just to kind of get a better idea of what it's going to end up looking like. I'm doing the best at free rotating this part, but there we go. Okay. So I know that this side is going to be more like that. Okay. It's a little closer to what it's going to end up looking like. So I'm going to constrain and I'm going to mate this face with this face. Cool. Then I know this face has to be flush with this face. Awesome. Almost done. Last piece I'm going to bring in. The pink part. That's just going to rest on the top where, let's see. I know that I could do this probably multiple ways, but I know that face is going to be touching this face. Apply. I also know this thing needs to rotate, and that this bottom half needs to rest on this face. Apply. And lastly, a flush. I know this face needs to be in line with that face. Apply. I think I removed all the degrees of freedom. Yep. So you'll notice that I end up with the same type of puzzle cube. Let's see if it looks the same. Let's see, some kind of green. Yep, looks the same to me. I did it correctly, good. Always good to do it on the video correctly. Otherwise, I could always analyze my interferences, inspect, analyze, highlight the whole thing. No interferences, awesome. Cool, I'm ready to save this, and I saved mine as Puzzle Cube Assembly, first name, last name. Okay, thanks for watching. Good luck with assemblies. Hope you like it.